Hey, what's happening, you guys, and welcome to the Icon Blueprint Facebook page. Today, I am excited as we have the one and only Coach Jill, who I have had the pleasure of knowing for many years now, who is not only a registered nurse, but a board certified wellness coach. She is an Olympic lifting superwoman. She is a joyful, wonderful woman to be around. And she is a seventh generation Nevadan, which is one of the things that's near and dear to my heart. So, without further ado, I would like to invite Coach Jill to the show.
Thanks, Joel. I appreciate you having me and for all of your flexibility this morning. So, to catch up your listeners, is my
Yes.
babysitting just fell through within just 15 minutes ago. So, it's probably one of the things we'll talk about is the uncontrollables in your life and the reactions that you make
Yes.
towards them. So, this is me still deep breathing,
Yes.
calming back down
Yes.
that it's okay. And I actually called up the hubs, and now he's got Babe for the next hour. So
No way. Look at
mama's
that. That's
hands free.
teamwork. I know. I saw you. You're kind of like you were walking around, and just to catch up the listeners, Jill called me and she said, "Oh my gosh, my babysitter," and I'm telling her, "Hey, you know what? This is almost kind of perfect for this show." Is talking about like, hey, the uncontrollable things is being a mom, and she was able to get home and get a husband and get and she here she is, and 5 minutes before the show too. Like she still had plenty of time, and we had some technical like audio issues, and we figured it out even
Right?
before it started. So
Boom.
that just
Bam.
shows you how versatile you are, my friend,
Hey,
and that
thanks.
that is awesome. Okay, so the first thing I really want to dive into is I want to talk about you because I like talking about you because you are a very intriguing, interesting person, and I think people need to know more about you. Tell me first and foremost, I love your very first statement in your biography. You say, I'm a seventh generation of Adam. If anyone knows me, I throw that around as well. I'm not a seventh, I'm a fourth generation of Adam.
Ooh.
But tell me, you put that as your number one thing in the very beginning. What does it mean to you to be a seventh generation of Adam?
I think that you're the first person to ever ask me that. Having deep roots and knowing where you come from has an impact of knowing of where you're going.
Gosh, did that just come from the top of the head?
It just did. I don't know. I think I have like some adrenaline from like
Yeah, yeah.
getting out from my morning.
For the
So I'm
clarity,
firing. I'm firing on
you're
on all cylinders,
you are
Joel.
firing on all cylinders. I freaking love that. I love that. I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you, and I think it's amazing that your family has been in this state for so long. I mean, for me, going back with my family and tracing my family lines and stuff it's really cool to see that the history of it.
For sure. And knowing, in how you coach in a holistic realm,
Yep.
knowing where you come from culturally really has an impact on your health and how you
Right.
view it
Right.
and how you are brought up as a child, how your parents were brought up as a child
Right.
has so much to do with it. And we are learning. I speak to my birthing people, and epigenetics
Mm.
is a fast and furious part of science right now, and how the baby in your womb is affected by your own mother. Like the passed down effect is just crazy. And
Mm.
being a part of Nevada, it's not just your culture and history, but also our environment and living in the desert and the things that come with that, and not necessarily being around the freshest of fruits and vegetables, that
Mm,
we really struggle with that in
sure.
our specific area, I
Sure.
believe. But there's also hunting and
Yeah. Yeah.
fresh game,
Yes.
or, my family is Basque and they were sheep herders. So
Yes.
all that very much plays a part of who we are as a person.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's actually interesting. I want to ask you about that because it just popped in my head. So are you saying like say you were a seventh generation Nevadan, right? So that means your child's an eighth generation Nevadan?
Yes,
And so say that
that's crazy.
that's crazy. That's insane. So say
A
that
lot
you
of people.
ended up going to like Florida and you started living in Florida before you had your baby. Would that have any effect on the child in terms of completely changing the environment from like a high desert into like a very like different foods, different environment, different everything?
I am going to say yes.
Yeah,
Whether we have scientific evidence to prove and back my yes, I am not sure, but I
sure.
also am very much aware of how much our environment
Yeah,
can affect our hormones, and that if we are living in a toxic environment, if we are
right.
breathing in certain things, I live down in South Reno where it used to be like an old mining pit, and there's been shown to be higher mercury levels. And like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know if we'll know how that is affecting me, my family,
sure.
or how
Sure.
we're seeing more cancers. Like, there's
Uh-huh.
just so much I think that we don't know, that we know the surface
Yeah.
of. And we won't know, I don't think, until my son's
Yeah.
generation.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, our environment is vital. Not only in our physical health, but also our mental health. If we're living in an environment that we do not like, we're living in a big city and we hate big cities and so on and so forth. That's gonna, as you know, and as we talk about, like that's gonna affect your hormones and that's gonna affect your stress levels and that's gonna affect your overall health in general. So
Yeah.
that's really intriguing. Okay, so continuing on with you. So what I know about you, and to give the listeners a little bit of info, is Jill and I got to know each other through CrossFit. She wasn't always a CrossFitter. Her husband, Kirk, was the main CrossFitter, and he was the first person I met. And then I met Jill. And I think Jill, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Jill,
Okay.
I think Jill started CrossFit just because Kirk was better than her at it and she wanted to become the dominant CrossFitter. I'm just going to throw that out there. Um, you have always been a very competitive athlete. Is this true?
Very true. Yes.
And so tell me the sports that you played. Let's just give kind of a quick recap because I think it is important for people to understand like your background in athletics up to this point.
So the longest sport that I was a part of was competitive softball. And I started softball when I was 5 years old, played all the way up until I was a sophomore in high school. I played so hard, I got burnt out. So by the time that I
Mm,
was a freshman, played varsity, I tried out my sophomore year and I was just like over it. I wanted to actually go to the other side of the field and run around in a circle with my friends and run
yes,
track.
yes.
So sophomore year, went and tried out for the track team. Turns out, sprinting was my main game. And I went to state in 4 events from my sophomore to senior year in high school. Alongside of that, I also was a cheerleader. So as a three-sport athlete all the way through
Wow.
high school, I went to state nationals in every single sport that I have ever been a part of.
Mm,
So I don't know how to not be the best, and kind of can be a struggle.
totally.
Beautiful thing, but also, uh, yeah, the pendulum can swing the other way. And I ended up cheerleading all the way through college, all 4 years, captain of my senior year. Not sure how anybody feels about Kaepernick these days. Love the guy.
Yeah,
Cheered during his same 4 years.
that's right.
And since then, I that is where our journeys kind of meet,
Mm-hmm.
through CrossFit. And
Yeah.
I was a very lost athlete. And I didn't know how to stop that mindset after 20 years of, I'm
That
the
that
youngest
competitive
of my
mindset.
whole family. I've always
Hmm.
been a competitor,
Yeah.
when you have a big family and you're the youngest, you have
Yeah.
to compete.
Yes.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
you're not even going to eat.
Totally.
And so, yeah, CrossFit came along and it was a huge challenge. It reminded me of learning how to do the snatch and clean and jerk, reminded me of what it was like to learn how to tumble and do really difficult
Mm.
acrobatic gymnastics
Mm-hmm.
skills.
Mm-hmm.
And it really spoke to that part of me of I love to train just as I much love to show up for the day of competition.
Yes, and that's what made you such a good competitor is the way that you trained. I mean, I wouldn't say we trained together. I I was by
We've
your.
exercised together.
There we go. Yeah, let's just put that away. I was by Jill when she was 2 or 3 rounds ahead of me, um, and we were doing the same weight. Uh, but that competitive mindset you have always had, and you continued with that mindset with your education towards what you were super passionate about. So now we graduate college, right? You're in CrossFit. That's giving you kind of that itch, but there's still something more that you are wanting, and you kept the gas pedal down. So kind of tell us what you did for going towards your career.
So I graduated with my first degree in public health, and this was, right at the last crash. Like there wasn't a job in
Right.
sight
Yeah. Yeah.
in the world of public health. And 10 years later, it turns out we're really seeing that public health isn't at the top of our radars.
Yes.
So really quite interesting how this
Right.
is all coming full
Yeah.
circle.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking into applying to physical therapy school. I was getting extensive hours. I was a teaching assistant for the kinesiology lab at the university. I really love rehab and how it was also applying to me within CrossFit and the weird aches and pains that were coming out that were injuries that I had had probably my entire life.
Right.
CrossFit just really brought them to the surface. And with that, one of my patients, she had a double knee replacement. So we really got to know each other over time. Well, she was a professor and a nurse working at the university. And she was like, you don't want to go to PT school. You don't want to go to PT school. You need to become a nurse. And I was like,
Yes.
do I need to
Yeah.
go back to school?
Yeah.
And it laid on me for about a year. And I made the decision to apply. And the Orvis School of Nursing at the University of Nevada is like top notch. They want you to succeed. And I was immediately brought in with open arms. Uh, Graduated, started as a new grad in the ICU. And within my first year, I called myself the black unicorn because the things that I saw in my first year of nursing were not necessarily the same things as the other new grads that I was starting with and my friends. I was like, guys, this is really heavy. I had 12 deaths in a row. So that's about a month
Wow.
long. And
Yeah.
in the ICU, you see death in different ways. And I began to see myself change, that I was losing this human side to me, that I was starting to
Mm-hmm.
really having to compartmentalize this, which you have to. As a
Yeah.
healthcare worker, you have to
Yeah.
compartmentalize some of these things in order to do your job. That if you are always feeling all of the emotions, there's a balance that you're not going to be able to show up and see things logically. And
Right.
every single one of those deaths really affected me in big ways. And so many people I would hand the education packet to only see them return.
Yeah.
And from things that we can control, manage, that we can cure chronic illness, which is we used to actually believe just like 30 years ago that we couldn't cure chronic illness.
Yeah.
We can
Yes.
we can literally reverse
Yeah.
and overcome. And I began searching for more in my role as a nurse. And that is where I began my journey to become a board certified holistic nurse coach. I call myself a wellness coach or a life coach,
Yeah.
to make it a little bit more digestible. Because when I say nurse coach, which is my true title, people
Right.
think that I coach nurses, which I can,
Oh, yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. I mean,
but
okay.
I have since kind of niched down into coaching my birthing people and through the motherhood transition.
Yeah, yeah. That's so interesting that you bring up, being able to digest death is, very, it's a process, right? I volunteered for the Solace Tree for 4 years, and that's dealing grief. That's grief, right? The loss of life of people that are very close to you. And, I remember actually when you first started and you were doing graveyards, right? And you were going through that. And I remember us actually talking about it. And for the first time of knowing you, I could see there was this drain, right? Because you guys, if you ever get the pleasure of being able to meet Jill, she is so full of life. If you saw her picture that I posted, that is who she is. And to see you at that point of like, whoa, there's a little, there's like a weight on your ankles. Like I could see you still trying to be that same Jill, right? But it was taking a little bit more effort to be that person. And it's interesting that you tell that story now, because I'm literally like going back to like, it was like after the workout, and I knew exactly where we were sitting, and it all just connected the dots, and that can be pretty heavy. And would you say that's one of the reasons in which you kind of pivoted to where you're at now?
For sure. And I appreciate you, acknowledging that. I kind of, as you're explaining that, I get a little like choked up because there are really specific conversations that I had with my patients of
Yeah,
sitting on the edge of their hospital bed as you don't necessarily get to talk to many of your patients in the
I
ICU. A
see you.
lot of
Yeah.
them can be on a ventilator. And there was one particular one of a woman dying of cancer. And that one conversation was the huge pivot in my life
Wow.
that I canceled my big white wedding, and Kirk and I threw just a big party within a
I
couple
remember
months.
that.
People assumed that I was pregnant because I was just like,
No
nope,
more.
not doing it.
Yeah.
No more. I don't That actually doesn't fit my values right now and what is important to me.
Nice.
And yeah, it was dark when I was having to medicate myself in order to sleep because
Yeah.
night shift just wrecks you. And
Rex.
I am a morning person. You're catching me at my prime. 10
Yes.
a.m. is like
On.
on. I am
Yeah.
on. So to be forcing my body to sleep during these times, and I was missing out on family functions. And just like we talked about with family and where you come from, I was upside down, backwards. I have
Yes.
no idea.
Yeah. Yes.
So yeah.
Yes. And so this is a perfect transition, right? So then you kind of have these thoughts, and you're like, whoa, wait a second. There has to be a pivotal change. And what I talk to a lot of my clients about, right, is if you want massive results, you have to make massive changes, right? It's not just this little like, oh, okay, well, I still kind of want this, but I really want this, but I don't want to give up this, right? It's that huge decision like, no, we're not going to spend $20,000 on a wedding. Come on, friends.
Yeah.
Like, we'll pay for the photographer to take a bunch of smiling faces, right? And I remember
Yeah.
seeing your pictures, and I was just like, wow, that looked like an amazing time, you know? And so you made a massive change, and you started your own business. So give us kind of a rundown of your business and what you do and who you work with.
Yes, messy action is better than no action.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so many,
Oh, I'm taking that.
I am always, I'm speaking to my platform is speaking to my birthing people and moms. So that's kind of my context of my
Mm,
storytelling, I suppose.
yeah.
But I became so within then began coaching within CrossFit, and I was having my friends, family, my my sister-in-law, they were all going through the motherhood transition, and they would ask me things about within physical fitness, and I didn't
Mm,
have the
mm-hmm.
answers, and I
Yeah.
didn't feel like I should be giving them any sort of advice or suggestions when I just really didn't know. So I went searching, and I became a pre and postnatal fitness um, specialist after getting my birth fit certification,
Yeah.
along with coaching Olympic weightlifting and within CrossFit
Yeah.
and my personal training. It's all kind of like piling on the layers of knowledge. And I really saw some deep emotional changes, not just physically, in my sister-in-law, my friends, and it was huge. I was seeing depression,
Yeah.
anxiety, and these are things that I screened for as a nurse. And at my birth fit seminar, we did a lot of mindset work, and it really flipped the switch of like, wait, this is big. This is way bigger than
Right.
what we are making it. And at the same time, I was doing a ton of pro bono hours to sit for my board examination.
Right.
And I coached men, women, family, not
Yeah.
family. I
Yeah.
coached
Yeah.
anyone who was willing to take it. And so many people are like, they will take all the free coaching.
Totally.
And I began to see how just small little steps can create such a ripple effect in people's lives. And my business started out as just a side hustle. I was saying I'm
Yeah.
saving one mom at a time.
Yes.
And because that's all I could do, because I was still working in the hospital, I
Yeah.
couldn't quite see, is this a full-time gig for me? I'm not
Right.
really sure. And the more that I began to coach women, getting more experience, I then became pregnant, saw my own needs. It really pushed that this is beyond needed.
Yes.
And it finally spoke to me of like, this is what I meant to do as a
Yes.
nurse. Finally.
Yes.
I'm almost 32, and I'm like, dang, it's been a long road, but we're
Yes.
here. And and it might change. Who
Sure.
knows? But as
Sure.
of right now, it feels good. And to finally find the people that I am meant to serve.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, one of the things that I always say is like, you can make money anyway, right? You just have to find a need
Oh,
and,
for
and
sure.
fill it, right? And so people have there's the hell and the heaven, right? It could be like, I hate zipping up my jacket. The hell is zipping up. I hate zippers, right? So somebody made buttons. Yeah, that's how they
Yeah.
figured it out. And they're like, oh my God,
I
you
love
solved my
that.
hell, right? So if I was going to say to you, and I think, and particularly you going through your birth, right, and having that kind of light bulb moment, what is the hell that your clients are going through? And what is the heaven that you take them to, right? What is the struggles that they face that you go, I know it and I have it, right? You're talk about a trauma nurse, right? Your neck is gushing blood and I'm a neck gushing blood specialist, right? What is their gushing neck kind of syndrome, in which there isn't there's a need but isn't being filled, and you stepped in and filled it. So what is that? If that all made sense?
So it's so funny that you then went to the blood, because the zipper and the buttons actually speaks to mothers quite well in the middle of the night diaper changes, that
Yeah,
only zips. There
only
are
zips.
only zips.
That's
Don't you
it.
ever buy a mother pajamas with buttons. Don't
Okay,
ever do that.
okay, that's
Put
getting
that
written down too.
down.
I'm writing
Yeah,
it down right now.
don't don't you dare. And if somebody tells you they want the button pajamas, they're lying. They don't
Yeah,
know what they're talking about.
liars.
Um, the the heaven and hell of motherhood, so you speak. So I would say the hell is loss of self. And this is more of pregnancy gives you a glimpse in your change, but birth and postpartum is, I think, one of the most radical changes that can happen in any human's life.
Wow.
And the eyes are no longer on mom, they're on baby.
Right.
And mom's sitting back like, hey, still here.
Yeah.
Like, I still have wants and needs,
Mm.
and I still need support. Nobody's asking, hey, mom, how are you? It's, how's baby? And you're like,
Mm.
good. Are they sleeping? And you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
but like nobody's asking, hey, are you
Yeah.
sleeping? How, like, how are you handling this transition?
Yeah.
And whether you are a stay-at-home mom, stay-at-home working mom, which is what our pandemic has like really shoved onto the already overwhelming load of motherhood,
Yeah.
or if you're a working mom, there's just like our society throws so much guilt onto the mom of right and wrong and breastfeeding formula that there feels like there's already not a minute, just
Yeah.
1 minute
Yeah.
for mom to be able to sit in her own space to know who she is anymore.
Right. Right.
That you literally have to keep another human alive.
Yeah.
And that is a big job.
Yes.
Therefore, the minute to know who you are, to be able to take that big deep breath of like, what are my hobbies? I don't know. I haven't done them in a year.
Oh
you
my
know,
gosh. Right.
I have no idea. So that's where I come in as a coach to, I'm all about preventative healthcare. And my goal is to catch you in your first pregnancy to help guide you into support systems that are going to fuel you, because what helps me doesn't help you.
Mm.
And
Mm-hmm.
like love languages is a big
Right.
thing
Yeah.
that I value quality time, but you might need physical touch, and you might need those hugs. And this pandemic may be really laying heavy on you
Big time. Right.
if
Yeah.
you aren't receiving hugs from loved ones,
Right.
or um, physically distancing from people, even at a restaurant. It's just creating a lot of disconnect. And I love to coach mothers into finding what it is that they truly need and want, and needs on the most basic human level,
Mm.
in that they need to demand more for themselves, that a shower, while yes, it is self-care,
Yes.
that is a basic human right of hygiene, and
Ugh.
you should get more than a 10 to 15-minute shower once a week.
Weak.
That brushing your hair can happen every day.
Mm.
And to ask for help in the realm of meal planning
Mm-hmm.
and food prep
Yes.
and keeping the house clean. It, like, they sound so simple when you say
Yeah.
it out loud. You're like, what? Where are all the people helping? They're like,
Right.
it takes a village. And people are like,
Yeah.
where's my village?
Yeah. The
I don't
tumbleweed
see
goes
it.
by. Ding, 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 ding. Right.
So helping create support in that. And people always assume, well, that support has to come from my family or my friends, right? And I'm like, no,
No.
you can, no, search for them elsewhere. If
Yeah.
they're not there, find them somewhere else, whether you need to join a gym, if you need to go see a therapist or a
Yeah.
counselor.
Yeah.
I think that that helps combine what I do in such a great way,
I agree.
and that their scope of practice really can help drive home healing
Yes.
in the postpartum period, and pay for support. I paid for a birth and postpartum doula to help give me support that's like not on the inside of the box. I want somebody
Yeah.
to actually give me advice that like doesn't care. That's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
going to have a weird
Yeah.
filter,
Yeah.
or I don't know. I had a midwife that checked on me at 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks. That is way more than the one OB appointment at 6 weeks postpartum that's maybe 10 minutes.
Right. 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 Wait, so what is did you say a doula?
A doula, yes.
Okay, so
So,
fill me in.
explain what they
Yeah,
are?
yeah, yeah.
Yes. So, a lot of people will get this confused. So, a midwife
Yeah.
is someone who can actually bring baby hands on,
Right. Okay.
help the birthing person bring baby to earth.
Okay.
A doula is just a support person. So, as a birth doula, they can help you with pain management, comfort measures,
Mm,
more mental, physical support, helping. They can be at a home birth, they can be in a hospital, and they can help you advocate for yourself and what your needs are,
yeah.
which is huge to
Huge.
have an advocate in that time because your brain has gone primal and you can't think
I love
clearly.
that. I love that. That's a great way to explain. Your brain has gone primal. I love it. Okay. I love it. I love it. A lot of that stuff you touch into it. And I want to ask you this because a lot of that makes incredible sense. So, I always say everyone should have a coach. Everyone.
Heck
There's
yes.
if you
Everyone.
think that you have your SHIT together and you don't need a coach, you need it the most. You need it the
Yes.
most, right? Because the top people in the world pay, we're not talking like, oh, $1,000 a month. We're talking 50, 100,000, $250,000 for their
Yeah.
own coach,
Oh yeah.
life
Yeah.
coach, right? Um,
Hmm.
and I think it's so vitally important. So we're talking post, and I know that this is a lot, right? We're talking life after birth, but I think you touched on something that I couldn't help but thinking that even before the baby comes, it's about the baby, right? Well, I'm eating this way for the baby. Well, I'm doing this exercise for the baby. It's always about the baby, the baby, the baby, the baby, the baby, the baby, right? How's the baby doing? Is
Hmm.
the baby kicking? Is that so on and so forth.
Yes.
And so I think, and you're gonna know a lot more than I will on this, but I think it almost starts at that point, right? Of like it becomes this massive. How's the baby? What's everything with the baby, and so on and so forth. But what about the possibility of the mom having diabetes or her blood pressure being up, right? Or her not sleeping well at night, right? Or not getting her having anxiety or stress, right? So on and so forth. I didn't I didn't start recognizing that until I started coaching some pregnant women and just doing my normal life coaching, going, whoa, like, well, I didn't know those things. Nobody tells me about those things. Nobody talks about those
Hmm.
things.
Mm-mm.
This is, what my importance is you, right? Of course, you are taking care of the baby, but my importance is you. So let's talk about how I can support you through, what's it called? Uh, Diabetes during pregnancy, the
Gestational.
gestational. Thank you.
Gestational diabetes.
Gestational diabetes, right?
Words are hard.
Yeah, your words are hard. Well, I leave it up to you because you're the pro when it comes to that field for sure. And I had a client, or currently have a client going through that,
Yeah.
and my biggest focus is, hey, you'll take care of the baby, but you're my biggest focus, right? How can I hold you accountable, right? Send me pictures of your
Yes.
meals, right? It's me and
Yes.
you. Let's work together. So to come back on that, do you feel that starts even before the child comes, that mentality and that attitude? And if you work with women before birth, how do you prime that attitude, or how do you help them to refocus and ask for help and take it on?
And it's really difficult. I'm sure making that switch mentally takes so much. And part of it is that, you know, our external world
Mm-hmm.
culturally, like those are the questions that we've all been primed to ask. How's
Yes.
baby sleeping? Like,
Yes.
how's baby? Like, those are all like they're learned.
Yeah.
And so unlearning those questions it's hard.
Right.
It takes a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
And I even catch myself asking, weird questions, and I have to like pause, like, I'm sorry, this is actually what I meant. That just came out
Yes.
automatically.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I mean, I say that I want to catch my mamas in pregnancy, but preconception is way better,
Mm.
because you should be taking prenatal vitamins at least 3 months before you conceive, at a minimum.
Right.
Your health and wellness leading up to now. So this isn't just moms. This is also for if you have any men watching this. I don't know
Yeah.
if you are.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They'll be out
Your
there.
health, your health also matters.
Nice.
Can you
Yeah.
see
Yeah. Yeah.
me?
Yeah.
It
Yeah. Yeah.
matters.
Yes. 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 Yes.
So this is the heavy load of motherhood before people or while they're trying to conceive, is that infertility is always blamed on the female. Your sperm, gentlemen, also plays a huge role. So,
No. No.
no, what?
It's crazy.
Your sleep, your caffeine use,
Mm-hmm.
how you eat,
Mm-hmm.
all of it.
Alcohol
How
use.
who you are as a person
Mm-hmm.
is, yes, is so big. And changing that mindset that mom, you are important. This takes work and a lot of time. And sometimes it's just taking small steps in self-care and realizing, hey, that felt good.
Yeah.
And success breeds success,
Yes.
and that you just have to create a snowball effect.
Mm.
And I have a mom right now that's, it's hard. She is
Okay.
a struggle, and
Sure.
gosh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love
The
how
challenge.
difficult it
Yeah.
is.
Uh-huh.
And one week I was like, I typically don't tell people what to do. We co-create agreements. And I decided, I was like, you know what? I'm telling you, this week, your mantra every day when you wake up is you are a priority in your own life.
Mm.
Every day, every minute, I'm going to call you. I'm going to text you.
Yep.
I'm going to be on you like white on rice.
Yes. Yes.
And she responds to that. She's like, actually, I really like that. And like finding what that is that's going to create action is what makes coaching fun.
Yes.
Because there is no A plus B equals C. We are not robots. We are dynamic and complex. So finding that is what makes our job fun and also difficult, because we
Yes.
want uh, you know, I shouldn't be tied to people's results, but I
Right.
want results for people.
Right. Yes. 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 Well, I mean, that's what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
We're trying to coach and trying to make people happy and healthy.
Heck yeah.
Yes. Yeah. No. Totally. I completely agree. And I think we were touching on this just the other day when we were talking about like, when people are going like, okay, well, tell me my meal plan, right, and give me my workout regimen, and I'm like, what? No, no, no. We're changing the habits here, right? And it is not just, hey, this is that meal plan, right? You can go online, get yourself a meal plan if that's what you want to do, right? But
Right.
you'll be right back to where you were before, because it is such a mindset, right? And we do have to work on that. And so I think I wanted to bring that up due to the fact that I think it's really, really, really important. Mindset with, birth, with regular life, with your relationships, so on and so forth, right? Having the right mindset. We don't push that enough, right? People don't practice their clarity, vision every day. They don't practice their, what is my core values again? These are my core values. And so therefore this, when it's a tough decision, it's easy to make because I know my core values, because I tell myself we're priming ourselves every single day. It's like going to work or exercising or going to school. The more you do it, the smarter you become, the better, more successful you get in your job, the more fit that you get with your body. But we just leave our mindset behind. And to me, it's no surprise. It's no surprise that there's more depression, there's more anxiety, right? There's more suicide than ever before, because we have added
Yes.
on more stress, right? And we have
Mm-hmm.
given no outlets. to be able
Mm-hmm.
to get rid of it. And so,
Yeah.
my therapist told me, right, trauma comes when we don't speak about it, right?
Ah,
We can
yeah.
have a very traumatic event. Someone can die, right? We can be abused. And where the real pain starts coming is when we stay quiet. We can stay quiet and silent in our own shame. And I think that was a very powerful statement that she told me, because she's like, if you're quiet, that's where trauma starts digging its roots.
For sure. I I love that. I shouldn't like that about trauma, I guess,
Yeah,
but you know what I mean.
I do. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
The every, and the more I coach, the more that I did my own inner work, and you can resonate with this,
mm-hmm,
as
mm-hmm,
well, is that everyone has trauma and baggage, and trauma is to the beholder.
mm-hmm.
That when you start to realize that no one is perfect
Yeah.
and we all have really ugly truths,
Yeah.
it takes the weight off your shoulders a bit. You're like,
Totally.
oh,
Totally.
turns out we're all in this together.
Right. Right.
I knew.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the questions that I ask a lot of my podcasters is, was one of your greatest failures that led to success? And that was a very moving story for me, just reading through that. I don't know if that's something that you're willing to share, but I think it touches on like trauma, right? And being able to voice that trauma, like no matter how scary it is, for me, telling people that I deal with anxiety, right? That I deal with depression, because I
Mm-hmm.
don't want people to think that anxiety and depression doesn't happen, only happens to the people that are sad and quiet and in a corner, right? That it happens to all of us, and that I
For
struggle
sure.
with these things, right? But it has brought me some of my best successes as well. So I don't know if that's a story that you want to touch on, or a different story, and similar to it, but it's kind of up to you.
I'm like, sure, I will share it. And I haven't given it a voice necessarily to anyone outside of my inner circle. I
Wow.
touched on it a little bit on my own Instagram, but it's one that, gosh, a decade ago, it still weighs so heavy and affects my decisions to today. And the story that Joel's talking about is that I was pulled over and received a DUI when I was 21, a week before I turned 22. And I ended up doing a ton of work. I got it dropped to a reckless driving ticket, which still honestly doesn't matter because I still have to check the box. Have you ever received a misdemeanor
Mm,
ever?
yeah.
Still gotta check it
Yeah.
because even though it's been over a decade, it still is a part of my past.
Yeah.
And applying to nursing school, I've had to explain the circumstances around it, what I
Mm-hmm.
did to overcome it, how it has made me who I am today. And I actually, every time I check that box, I still have to explain. Getting
Yeah.
life insurance now,
Yeah.
I have to explain
Right.
that moment, and that moment doesn't define me as, a person. And part of what made that moment so heavy for me is that when I was a senior in high school, I had a close friend that died from drinking and driving,
Mm,
and it wrecked a lot of my friend group and our circle. It was so your first human loss as
mm-hmm.
a young human can be so heavy. And I
Mm-hmm.
sat in an interview with a whole panel and my friend's family, and I had made the promise I will not drink and drive. Here I was as a college senior. I was
Yeah.
the captain of the university's cheer team. I could have very much have been made uh, an example of. And
Sure.
I am thankful that I was not. But I had to keep quiet because I didn't want that to
Mm-hmm.
happen. So I
Mm-hmm.
had to hide the heaviness of my situation and seeking help with lawyers and
Yeah.
sitting through substance abuse class, and I remember sitting there being like, I don't belong here. I am a good, like, I'm a good person. I don't belong in this class. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my
Mm-hmm.
gosh. And then I asked myself the question, what if I do belong here? And it hit me like a ton of bricks, like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my God, I do belong here.
Oh
Like,
man.
oh my gosh. And
Yeah.
I owned up in that moment to my wrongdoings, and that I began to see really how alcohol was serving my life and how heavy it was making my life. And I actually really have CrossFit to thank for pulling me truly out of what alcohol was doing. And that
Wow.
I couldn't, I would drink a beer and go work out and
Mm-hmm.
then drink another beer. And like, that was like my recovery. Like, eh,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah.
And then I realized I wanted to compete at a high level, and alcohol doesn't serve you in that.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Mm-mm.
And Kirk, people have always seen that, mine and Kirk's relationship is like this, like perfect
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
marriage. Everyone struggles. We really struggled because of alcohol. I think, from I own up to my side of it, but God, it was so detrimental to the beginning of our relationship.
Wow.
And overcoming that is, I mean, it's everything.
Yeah,
It's how
yeah.
I show up for people and how I can be empathetic to their inner demons.
Yes.
That we can have addictions in so many different ways,
Mm.
and overcoming it isn't just a simple stop. That
Yes.
cold turkey doesn't stop.
Yeah.
Like, it
Right.
doesn't work for everyone.
Right.
And I can say now that I am proud of the work that I've done for that.
Yeah.
So thank you, Joel,
Yeah.
for allowing me to share that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I haven't really given it words besides on pieces of paper
Wow.
that I have to click. Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
I have screwed up in my life.
Wow. Wow. Well, I mean, first and foremost, thank you so much for taking the courage to be able to say that because,
Yeah.
I mean, not only is that a hard thing to say, but being a leader to other people, we almost, and I don't know if you feel this way, there's almost like this expectation, like, where there's like, no, you don't do that. That's you. I mean, I do that, but you don't,
Yeah.
and it's like, and I think it's really important for leaders such as yourself and for me and so many others to be able to go, I'm not perfect, you guys. And I really struggle with this. And actually, let me tell you where I'm soiled. That here's my
Hmm.
past. And vulnerability creates a trust and a bond that is really, truly unbreakable. When somebody puts their heart out there, and when I do it with my clients, they're going, hey, I just want to let you know, like, here's where I'm from. Like, this is where I'm coming from. And they kind of like aghast. But then they go, wow, you're human. Like, you're not this
Yeah.
like and this super figure or whatever else, right? And
Right.
and you have a lot of that because I mean, you're such an amazing athlete. You do have that amazing attitude, right? There's so many characteristics where people would look at you and go like, I want those. I want what Jill has. I want the
Hmm.
body that Jill has. I want the family that Jill has. I want the husband that Jill has, right? I don't know if I want the last name. I'm just kidding, Kirk. I'm just kidding. That's just a tease for
I hate
Kirk.
signing it. There's so many
Yeah, yeah,
cursive R's are the worst.
yeah. It is hard. It is hard. But I think
But yes.
I think it's really amazing that you shared that, and I really appreciate you putting that down on paper and then being willing to talk about it.
Yeah.
So thank you.
I'd say like any time, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right. Right.
Sharing the heavy stuff isn't actually that fun. And it
No.
took me a long time
Mm-hmm.
to get there and a lot of layers to
Mm-hmm.
unpeel
Mm-hmm.
for me to feel okay with even like sharing that.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure a lot of even some of my closest friends will be like, what?
Yeah.
You went through that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
But I mean, think about like again, it's scary to be able to be vulnerable, right? The first time that I was vulnerable,
Oh,
and
for sure.
any other time that I'm vulnerable, right? And it's so uncomfortable, and you're not sure and what's going to happen, and it's scary. And to be able to show people, and not only show, but now also be able to connect, like, no, I get it. Like, thank you. And I meant that sincerely because I've done it myself. So for you to do that, I've done it myself, and I know how difficult it can be. So it truly means a lot to me. And I would say it would mean the same to your clients, of being able to go, like, we can resonate. We went through that
Mm-hmm.
hard step of going, I really don't want to say this, but I'm going to say it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Totally.
for sure.
Totally.
And, I say in my coaching container, I like to create safety and confidentiality and making really big agreements that what is said in our
Yes.
container stays with us. And as a nurse,
Yes.
I live under my scope of practice and under HIPAA. So I'm not
Mm.
sharing
Mm-hmm.
with the world. And nurses are the most trusted medical profession.
Yeah.
And I really, really value that in being able to create a space for that vulnerability
Yeah.
to be laid out there in order to receive love and kindness and being able to feel, even with all the dirty and the mess, that you're still enough.
Yeah. Gosh, that is so good, Jill. You guys, if anybody's listening and has not started following Jill, immediately stop this podcast. Go follow Jill. It's what's your Instagram handle?
CoachJill.co.
Follow it. She is fire, and she,
Coach Jill Concepts.
yes, she and we'll give you a ton of plugs at the end. But she posts a bunch of great stuff every single day. I'm always kind of looking at it and going, oh yeah, that's really good stuff, right? That I probably will use. So thank you.
Yeah.
One of the questions, we got about 8 minutes left. One of the
Yeah.
questions that I had for you is, if you had a magic wand, right? And you could change one thing about life after birth, whether it's mindset, whether it's physical, whether it's spiritual, like, if you could give like the magic pill to your clients and say, like, hey, here it is. Like, this is what we're going to hit, because this is what you see the reoccurring theme of, and something that people really struggle with. What would be that magic wish or that magic pill? What would be the number one solve, and why?
Ooh.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Ooh.
Got you.
Part, I got you. Part of it, and what first comes to my mind is loving, support, and open ears that aren't there to fix you. And part of that is finding that support person
Mm-hmm.
and asking them to be that. That person for me
Ooh.
was, I paid for a doula, but also my sister-in-law came in clutch, that she showed up and just listened to my crazy and
Yeah.
validated it,
Yeah.
rather than being like, well, have you tried this, or have you tried this, or have you
Right. Right.
tried that?
Right.
And you're like,
Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
no, no, they're just not sleeping, I'm not sleeping.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I'm like, magic. And that, I would say that theme is across the board for everyone.
Yeah.
And moms are lonely, and they need at least one person at a minimum
Mm.
that can give that kind of love and support.
Mm-hmm.
And if I could do it for free, I would love to be that person for
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
If I didn't have my own bills to pay.
Right.
But
Right.
and that person needs to be whatever they are to you. And think your significant other can be that person, but I think you need someone
Yes,
outside of that inner relationship.
I totally agree. I totally agree. I mean, even just talking with you now, it's like there is no way that I'm not going to suggest somebody to work with you after a pregnancy. Like everything you said made so much sense. Like I would want my wife to work with you, right? Because you're so dead on. Yes, having your significant other is amazing and it's great, but they are also losing sleep. They are also having the pressures of being a new parent. They are also trying to figure
Mm-hmm.
everything else out too. And so, hey guys, like you can get help too. You don't have to be the prideful, egotistical. You can go out and go, dude, this is being really difficult, really hard for me because, again, trauma happens when we don't speak about it, right? And going to something like substances in terms of alcohol or, getting away and going to the scene with your buddies and watching the football game or so on and so forth, it is not the answer, right? Being
Mm-hmm.
able to say, I feel really traumatized that my wife is so depressed and I can't find a solution to it because I'm a guy
Mm-hmm.
and I want to find a solution, right? Instead of just
So
going,
glad you said that. Yes, men
yes,
want to fix.
yep, hey, what is it, right? What tool do I have? How can I look this
Yes.
up, right? There has to be a way to fix this, right?
Yeah. And you're like, I'm not broken.
Yes,
I
yeah,
just need somebody to listen to me complain for a hot minute.
yeah,
And with a hot cup of coffee, please.
yes, please, yeah,
Can it
yeah,
be hot, please?
yeah, yeah. Can I take a shower? Is it?
Please.
Can you talk to me while I'm in the shower? I don't know. Can I
Hair
double
always
up?
in a ponytail. It's
Oh,
fine.
yeah, yeah. I love it. I love it. Okay, a few other things that I saw on these questions that I have that I want to touch
Yes.
on. Your talent, hit it to us. We got a short amount of time left here. Tell us about your
You
talent
love it.
here.
You love my special talent that
I
I
love it. Yeah,
am left-handed. I write left-handed, but I color right. In softball, which I told you I played competitively
yeah,
before,
yeah.
I hit both
Yep,
left and right.
yep.
And when it comes to learning new skills with my hands, I get really confused.
Hmm.
So, as much as it's like a superpower, I also like when I was learning how to place IVs in patients, I was like,
Is it this hand or the other hand? Yeah, I'll
which one
use
works? I
I'll
don't
use
know.
both.
Both. Both.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. One of the best purchases that you have made this year and why? A lot of moms are going to like this.
Ah, yes. So I actually was given this suggestion by another mom, but I felt a lot of resistance because of course spending money on yourself in motherhood is hard because
Yeah.
all your money and energy goes towards your baby.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But this is one that serves both mom and baby, I think, just as good, and that is the Osprey Poco hiking backpack. So if you like to be outdoors, you want your baby on you, it like has this pull out canopy hood for shade, which
Yes.
my baby has hated sunshine from the very
Yeah.
beginning. I don't recommend having a baby in the middle of winter. It's cold, it's bright.
Yes.
It has helped give me so much more freedom that I have. I like wish I would have bought it way sooner, but also we were covered in smoke, so it didn't matter
Yes.
anyway. So,
Yes. Yes. That those backpacks are huge and getting one that is comfortable, right? From
yes.
from what I know is well worth its money. And
Oh,
it
yes.
sounds like you completely agree with that.
Yes.
I want you to tell me about the book, right? Because Brene Brown is somebody that I know and really appreciate, but I don't know if everybody else knows about Brene Brown. Tell us about that book.
So it's like if you don't know Brene Brown, like you must be living under a rock. Like Brene Brown for president.
That's right.
She studies vulnerability and looks at it from so many different lenses. And that in that book, she talks about the arena and that the people that are in the arena fighting with you, like you're a gladiator,
Yes.
are the only people that you should care about.
Yes.
And she is just so spot on in everything that she says. She has a podcast, a million different other books,
Yep.
looking at yourself, how you raise the humans in your life, how you
Hmm.
interact with them. She's just brilliant.
She is brilliant. And the book is Daring,
Daring greatly.
Daring greatly.
Yes.
So, you guys, if you don't know Brene Brown, you can follow her. I don't know what her Instagram handle is. You can get on her podcast. She has some great podcasts, and she has some amazing books. So if you don't know Brene
Yes.
Brown, get to know her. If you could
Yes.
deliver one message to the world, what would it be?
So I think I said this a little bit earlier,
Hmm.
but it is that knowing, I think I put it all caps on your thing
You
there,
did.
but it is I am enough.
Hmm.
And so many people feel so small in their world,
Yeah.
and you are not broken. You do not need to be fixed.
Yes.
You are enough.
Gosh, I love that. That is. And a lot of people don't. I mean, pregnancy, not pregnancy, right? One of the biggest things is
Yes.
getting people to say I am. That is what I have found to be stifling in any kind of vision or story work or encouragement, right? Is like, well,
Hmm.
I would like to be this person instead of I am this person, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
so that's a big one. And two last things that I want to touch on is the best advice that you've ever received, because this was fire. And I know the kinesiology professor you're talking about, but give
Yes.
us that quote, because I think for all of you go-getters and 100 percenters, this is a fantastic quote. Hit them with it.
Yes. So my prior boss slash kinesiology professor slash uh, huge mentor
Yeah.
in post college years,
Hmm.
Michael Spivak, owner of Active Physical Therapy. But he always told me you can do anything you want in life, but you can't do it all.
Mm,
And I would be like, God damn it, Mike, but I want to do everything.
all of it.
I'm doing all of these things this weekend. I'm going to make them happen. And then I've realized that you get burnt out and you end up flat on the ground, and
Mm,
none of it felt good.
mm,
So you can do anything, but you can't do it all. So find your priorities.
mm. God, trademark that. Put it up on a billboard. That is
Right?
straight fire. And the last thing that I want to leave with is, when you need a break, you like to get outside, but what specifically do you like to do?
Being barefoot on the grass.
Ah,
Barefoot. Gotta
so
be barefoot.
gotta
No
be barefoot.
socks.
No socks.
Even if it's cold, if it's
Yes.
0 degrees in Reno, frozen grass, it's fine. But this is something that I've always done since I was little. And,
Yep.
doing my board certification, grounding or
Mm-hmm.
earthing
Mm-hmm.
is the term used for it. And we have such a deep connection to our earth.
Yes.
And acknowledging that as part of us is so big. I'll use it as a refresh, especially now postpartum, where minutes are fleeting, self care is
Mm-hmm.
fleeting,
Mm-hmm.
but just big, deep breaths. Hopefully, the sun is out, it's not smoky,
Yes.
and all is
Yes.
good.
Yeah. Let me show you what I've been standing on the entire time.
Ooh, yes.
Nobody can see it on the podcast, but I am showing her my earthing mat. I'm ground. I'm
Yes,
I'm
I love
grounded
that.
right now.
Grounded.
Yeah, I had to throw that out there, Joe, because I talk to my clients about it, and they start going like, "Whoa, okay, granola," like, yeah,
Yeah,
that's a little
right? Kind
weird.
of toes
Okay,
in the soil.
yeah, that's okay. Like, that's
Yeah,
really, and I'm like, we came from the earth, thousands of years, like. Let's just get to it, guys. Just put your dang feet in the gosh dang earth, okay? Don't
right?
make it weird.
I
Just do
know.
it.
Our genetics haven't changed in a very long time. So just honor it.
Just honor it. Just honor it. Okay, Jill. If people are moved and they're like, "Wow, I want to work with Jill," how do they get a hold of you? Where would they start to be able to start working with you?
So most of my clients come from social media via Instagram. I think it's where I have built a lot of trust via my own story. storytelling. I think a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people want to see who you are. Like, are you a real human? I
Right.
think more than what my like website shows. My website and my Instagram handle are coachjill.co. Those are the best places to contact me, message me through. Um, my email is through my website if you find yourself scrolling through there, want to connect. Um, I enroll via my wait list. I can only take so many humans at
Nice.
a time.
Mm-hmm.
So, unless someone shares their story with me and I am very moved by it, which I typically am because
Yeah.
I
Yeah. Oh,
love all humans,
yeah. I was about to say.
then I take you on as a client, but I kind of enroll as a on a needs basis. I'm not just always taking on all the new people
Yeah.
all the time. So those are the best places to connect with me and to help build a bond with me. I love to connect with people over social media and send messages and pictures and
Yeah.
share all the things. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. So, guys, if you want to get a hold of Coach Jill, head to any of those different channels. Be able to just get in contact with her. She's fantastic to talk to. She will chat you up, regardless of whether you're going to, pay her to work with her or not. She is a fantastic person. I feel so humbled to be able to have you on the show today, Jill. It was all my pleasure. You get no pleasure.
Thank
It's
you so
just
much.
mine. And I would love to be able to do this again in the
Heck yeah.
future because we could talk about grounding and, we didn't even touch on water.
I know.
We didn't even touch on water, man. We could go real
Drink
deep with
it.
that.
That's the
Yeah.
point of the story. Just drink it, guys. Drink your water.
Drink more water. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, geez Louise.
Thank you
Okay.
so much for having me, Joel. It's been a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Coach Jill, it was awesome. You guys tune in next week. We will be live Thursday, 12:30 with the next show. I have Kim coming on the show. She is an awesome individual as well. I'll post more of that coming later. Jill, once again, thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you. We will catch up soon.
Bye.
All right. See ya.